I think
Anyway,
that's,
anyway, this is from Raleigh. It's not from here, but because of the textile conference, yes.
wow.
But I have some beautiful Peacock things from Nardis here, but my staff said, you wear that all the time, you can't wear that again. So it's one of my favorites, but I thought I would buy something new today. A little combination also of some Philippine, this is a Philippine designer from Manila. This is from Wisconsin, another from, so I got a combination of from the bits and bobs from all over the Philippines, but happy to be in Baguio celebrating the holidays. And of course, when we look back over the course of this past year, U.S.-Philippine relations have really catapulted into the next, into the stratosphere, right? We always say it's a relationship on hyperdrive, but I feel like we've just entered into another dimension in terms of, we had and some of this I will say in my speech later on, so you'll hear it again, but the first of its kind presidential trade and investment mission when Secretary Raimondo was here. I wonder, could we open these doors? That might make it a lot cooler. It's quite stuffy in here. It can open. They get stuck a little bit, but I'm always afraid that it's locked. It does open, I know. Yeah, it'll be much cooler if we open that up. And let me just see real quick, where's he at? Both Secretary Austin and Secretary Blinken were each here twice in the course of this past year. That is very unusual. And we had the first ever 2+2 ministerial meeting here in the Philippines. That's when you have the Secretary of Defense and Secretary of State together with Secretary of National Defense, Secretary of Foreign Affairs.
Right.
It's hard to get Secretary Blinken and Secretary Austin in the same room in Washington. But to get all four senior leaders in what we call a 2+2 here for the first time in Manila, the United States doesn't do that with very many countries. That really underscores the significance of the relationship. Let me just, yes, we'll see how she does it, because every time I try it, I can't ever figure it out. We just want to open up the window, the curtain. A year of significant developments in a real positive agenda. We've also co-hosted with the Philippines the ASEAN Business Forum here. We've had a number of trade delegations come in. We had the Nuclear Suppliers Network Forum just a couple of weeks ago. So looking ahead for nuclear energy and how we can cooperate. And as you know, this time last year, we had just signed the 123 agreement. That's Article 123 of the IAEA governing safe and secure uses of nuclear power. So now that we have the 123 agreement signed between the U.S. and the Philippines, that paves the way for clean energy coordination and development and investment. Now, that's a long-term endeavor, as you can imagine, to get the skill set of all the engineers that are required and the regulatory environment and et cetera. But we are on our way to doing more in the energy sector as well. So across the board, whether it's in our military relationship, our relationship as partners in prosperity, and of course our people-to-people ties are really strong as well. We had the most ever Filipinos studying in the United States in the last 15 years. We processed record numbers of visas this past 12 months. Record.
Students.
All types. So this would include students as well, but all types of visas beating pre-pandemic records. And the wait times, although we always like to shrink them more, the wait times after being behind the 8 ball around the world during the pandemic, we are in really good shape here in the Philippines and in relative terms to around the world. And we have also many more consular officers coming because our officials at the State Department understand the significant ties between our two peoples. And we saw through our U.S. elections, we had a lot of Filipino Americans voting in our U.S. elections. We have 700,000 Americans. That number's been revised upwards. We used to say 450,000, but we've actually done better accounting. We now say at a minimum 700,000 Americans in the Philippines
Phil-Am?
on any given day.
Here.
Not necessarily Phil-Am. Yes, growing numbers of Phil-Ams as well, but a lot of Americans opting to live and work here, to travel and retire here as well. So with 700,000 Americans here, it's a statistic that is quite significant. When you look at the number of Americans in Japan and in Korea, two other strongest allies in the region, together with the Philippines. Philippines has more than both of them combined in terms of Americans who are more than Japan and Korea combined. So it just, that strength of those people-to-people ties, it's so meaningful. And I always say it forms a real strong foundation, but it's not just the foundation, it's a springboard for what we can do together as we look to the future. And that's why one of the reasons I love to come here, it's so steeped in history. Mm-hmm. But it's also really important that we underscore for future generations the enduring value of our ties. Yes, they're historic, and the history that we share is meaningful. And when you're in this building and you see downstairs the Amorsolo painting of the signing of the instrument of surrender on the very table that's still in the dining room, now covered with a tablecloth to protect it. But that's so meaningful. And I'm excited about this year because we are coming up on 80 years since all of the kind of major events that brought about that led to the end of World War II, culminating here on September 3rd, 1945. So that will be the 80th anniversary coming up in 2025. So something worth commemorating. And just today, the Japanese ambassador was here in Baguio, but he came here to see the residents. And we were talking about, I mentioned the incredible power of reconciliation. When you think about, 80 years since the end of World War II, where we are today, I skipped over a big headline, which was our Trilateral Leaders Summit in Washington in April, where President Biden, President Marcos, and then Prime Minister Kishida signed a number of agreements that would ensure that our three countries, three maritime democracies, continue to coordinate in this region. And we will have just next week a trilateral maritime dialogue at the Assistant Secretary level in Tokyo. So I'll be going to Japan next week. That was one of the deliverables coming from our president's commitment to work more together. So I was talking today to the Japanese ambassador about the prospect of some cultural ties, maybe a Filipino-Japanese-American jazz event or something to that. Here maybe coming up in this next year to commemorate. So I have to put George and Glenda onto that to get that organized. But with Baguio being a UNESCO creative city, it would be a perfect place again to celebrate our the power of reconciliation and to commemorate our historic ties, but look into the future, what our young people have to look forward to as our three countries, our three democratic countries work together to overcome some of the challenges of the past, but also meet the challenges of the future. So with that, again, I'm just bouncing around. If you have any particular, there's so much that happened in the last 12 months that I buried some of the biggest headlines accidentally. I should have given myself some notes before I started out. But let's start out with questions. I don't know how we
identify yourself and which outlet you represent. We have time for maybe two.
Ambassador, about the nuclear energy, are you going to revive the Bataan nuclear plant?
That's, a lot of people are focused on small modular nuclear reactors as the future, and those they can be offshore, but they require less space. They're more modern technology. However, we're not discounting the prospect of the Bataan nuclear facility. That's really up to, it's got Westinghouse technology together with, I think a Korean company is looking at it. But this was one of the things when we had the Nuclear Supplier Forum just a few weeks ago. That's for U.S. companies to have a look at, to see about, does the investment make sense, to work with local authorities here, with both at the national level, but also in the provincial government and local government. So I don't have anything to announce specific to Bataan, but it's something that I know that a number of our U.S. companies and a number of others were talking about as a possibility, together with small modular nuclear reactors, which appear to be the wave of the future.
Someone else?
Yeah, Madam Ambassador, how do you look at the latest incident of a Russian attack submarine entering the West Philippine Sea?
Well, freedom of navigation, as a seafaring nation, the Philippines has probably more seafarers than, they're certainly in the top 2 or 3, if not number 1. So freedom of navigation and freedom on the high seas is an important principle that we all want to maintain. In an exclusive economic zone, that, yes, every country, according to international law, has the rights to the economic benefits that accrue from that 200-mile EEZ. But right of free passage is also part of, enshrined in international law. So I understand there were high seas. There may have been an issue with with the sub itself. So the fact that the submarine was in the EEZ, I don't think necessarily is problematic. If it's because we have vessels passing through EEZs all the time. Had it not surfaced, we probably wouldn't even have known. It wouldn't have. So what is of concern is when countries are in your EEZ and attempt to claim that territory as their own. Now, I didn't see anything
They just passed.
just passing through. So again, I don't have all the details and would defer to your national security experts here, but I don't think anything necessarily on the face of it is menacing about vessels passing through EEZs in accordance with international law, so long as it does stay within the bounds of international law.
Time for
Thank
one
you.
more quick one, because I know we have a party to get to.
That's
Madam
okay.
Ambassador,
Yeah.
So,
can you give a Christmas message?
Well, like-
That we can